Welcome to the Divine Feminine Revolution podcast, where women are magical and empowered. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Monday, psychologist turned transformational feminine business coach. This podcast is for you if you want to prioritize your own pleasure, face your fears, and manifest your desires. This podcast is sponsored by the Fearless Feminine Academy, where I teach women how to turn their trauma into their superpowers. My goal is to show women that we can heal our world by creating time and financial freedom by doing whatever the fuck we want. Are you ready for the Divine Feminine Revolution? Let's get vulnerable and go deep. I'm so honored that you're here. Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Divine Feminine Revolution podcast. I'm really excited. I have an awesome local healer and friend, Shelby here, and she has an amazing story and so many gifts. I'm just going to let her dive right in. So go ahead and give us your little brag intro. Tell us about yourself.
So I'm a beginner herbalist. I've just been, started walking the plant path, I like to say, about 4 years ago. And I just finished a course on infused oils, and I am all about the oils right now and getting herbal medicine into the body every single day in the easiest way possible. And I'm just super on fire for it. And I want to spread that passion, and I want other women to get into herbal body oiling.
Love that.
Yes.
Yes. And there's such a need for alternative medicine. So needed. We actually met at a local sweat lodge. I'm going to add that to our brag. We were just about that in the green room. And you're a new mama. So I've watched your journey. So I know there's a lot to your story. You want to give us a little bit of the before and after?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Just start wherever it makes sense.
Okay, well, I think for me, I'll start, at my rebirth, I like to call it. This was almost 4 years ago. I got strep throat, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought that I would just be able to get over it really quickly. Didn't go to the doctor, and it ended up going septic, and I almost died. I was in a coma for a week. I got dry gangrene on my fingers and my toes, and I lost some fingers. I had to have them amputated, a couple of toes also. And that experience really, really changed me. I mean, obviously, how could it not? And that's kind of when I started becoming really into the herbs, because I had these wounds on my hands that wouldn't heal. And I was taking antibiotics. I was using all of the modern medicine that they're prescribing me, and nothing was working. So I decided to dive into the herbs, and I actually was able to heal an open wound that literally took a year to heal in a week with manuka honey and infused with herbs. So that's, for me, really, I know, it was amazing. So that's when I really started to see the power of the herbs.
That's incredible. It's kind of interesting to me because you said 4 years, which kind of shocked me. I'm like, what? It's been 4 years since that happened, because you know how you'll Facebook friend someone, and then all of a sudden, because we share everything online, you know them really well, but you may not actually know them in real life.
Exactly.
One of those moments. So since we were part of a community, everybody was sending you well wishes, and I kind of watched all of that go down. Talk about an initiation, huh?
Seriously.
Tell me, did you have a near-death experience? What was it like?
I did.
You feel forever altered? What was that like?
I was in a medically induced coma, but I feel like I know I went to, I want to say the astral plane is where I feel like I went. I saw my ancestors. I saw my great-grandmother. She was the one who led me back. I really, honestly, don't think I would be here if it wasn't for her, because I honestly kind of just wanted to leave this plane a little bit, and her bringing me back really is what just really gave me life again. And she's my guardian angel. So it was,
I can see why you came back, because you have a very sweet husband and an incredible little baby. So you had this whole life that was waiting for you on the other side.
I know. So yeah, at the time though, like before I got sick, I wasn't living my truth. I was completely at odds with myself. And I really think that's what made me get so sick. It was like my higher self was like, okay, you need this experience to show you, a different way. You're not living your truth. And here you go. Here's, like you said, here's an initiation.
Yeah, and I love that like wounded healer concept. In fact, I like to say like don't stay wounded healer because like a lot of us healers are like so busy healing everybody else that we, like kinda are like, oh yeah, whoops, I need to take care of myself or like I need to like, take a little of my own medicine, so to speak.
Yes,
And so,
exactly.
yeah, I feel like that's so huge. And I always tell, my therapy clients, I get a lot of like holistic oriented, like empath, like psychic, intuitive, like especially
Hmm.
younger kids really have the superpowers, and I'm like, no, this is
Yeah.
not a mental disorder. This is a gift. You just have to like learn how to use it. And I think sometimes we do go through these like healing crisis initiations or, even like you said, like when you get to the near death point of view, it's like, then you got to own your purpose all the way. Like I've seen this with
Yes.
clients who have been suicidal and they like
Hmm.
should have died in the sense that it was lethal and then they came back. And I'm
Hmm.
like, all right, you got a mission, a big one.
Yes.
But what do you
Yeah,
think the mission is? Like what's coming forward for you?
for me, I truly believe that I am supposed to be here for the revolution that is here. That's coming to fruition right now as we speak. I think people like us are needed now more than ever. The healers, the people who are walking the alternative path, not following what the mainstream says we should follow. We're breaking away, and I feel like we're going to change the world. I really do.
Yeah, one of my big things has been that like you can totally turn your trauma into your superpower. And there's even like brain science that says like when you get traumatized, you do get more like intuitive and more
Mhm.
healer-esque.
Yes.
So like particularly having like lost, parts of you, like literally,
Mhm.
like what has
Yes.
it been like to turn that like trauma into your superpower?
Well, for me, the missing fingers, it's a reminder every single day of the experience. I see it every day. And it really has made me, I see my hand and I look down and I'm like, dude, you have done so much despite having missing fingers. And like, it really has, as crazy as it sounds, it's increased my confidence. Like, I don't think I would be where I am doing all of this work if this hadn't happened. I really don't. I see this experience, losing my fingers, as a strength. Like, it is a reminder every day, like, I'm missing parts of me and I'm still doing this damn thing and I'm doing it pretty well. Like, I'm a mom, I'm making all these remedies, I'm helping people. So, I think it's really given me a lot of confidence. It's still obviously hard though. Like, there's certain things, certain tasks that are really, really hard despite, 4 years of work with the missing fingers. So,
Yeah, and that's really hard about like your hands and fingers are such you do so much with them. And I think when you talk about
mhm,
gratitude, that's something we really take for granted.
mhm,
Having hands that you can use. And if
yes.
anyone's ever like sprained a finger or lost a part or something like that, you understand, like you said, it's like a forever reminder. And then you have to like figure out new strategies around it.
Yes, exactly. And I will say that there have been some challenges, like with becoming a mom, with having the missing digit. There's just certain things that you
Yeah.
don't think about, like changing a diaper, like grabbing the Velcro, it's so hard when the baby's squirming and like moving all over the place. And I'm like trying so hard to pull the Velcro and I'm like, ah!
As if
Just
like being a new mom wasn't hard enough and like you can't it's hard to fasten the diaper. That definitely you like you're like definitely learning mastery of like patience, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm tested every single day.
Bet. How do you keep your mindset and your positivity so high without just like kind of, having to face these triggers and struggles?
For me, I would say my breath work and my meditation and my journaling are my mainstays in my life. Like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be doing as well as I am. I know I wouldn't. Like the breath work for me was the huge thing that, like, because I had a dark night of the soul experience, obviously, after all of this went down. And I was just in such a low spot for a while. It took me a good solid 2 years to really build myself back up. And the breath work, really, like breath of fire and Nada Shodhani, the alternate nostril breathing, those two breath work practices have been everything for me.
Do you feel like you would give a little demo on this?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So what, you want to do breath of fire or the alternate nostril breathing?
You decide, whatever you feel like you want to share with us.
Okay, I think the alternate nostril breathing will be easier to demonstrate. So what you do is you take your thumb and your middle finger and your ring finger, and you, on your right hand, so you're going to block your right nostril with your thumb, and you're going to put your middle finger and your pointer finger on your third eye, and then you breathe in through your left nostril, and then you close it up, and you breathe out through your right, breathe in through your right, and then close up your right and breathe out through your left. And you just do that in a pattern for as long as you can. And it's a great nervous system reset. So if you're in a really anxious, frazzled state of mind, you just sit down. I mean, even 5 minutes, maybe even just 2 minutes of just sitting there and doing that, you can really recenter yourself and come back to a calmer state.
Yeah, and I've heard that also is really good for balancing like right and left hemispheres, so the kind of masculine and feminine energy. And, in a lot of the indigenous training I've had, it's all about the breath. Like we take it for granted because we do it and it's automatic. But like we can't live without the breath. Like,
no, it's everything.
It's an important thing you can do for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And, for my background with mental health and stuff, like a lot of people don't know that panic attacks are really about like hyperventilation and like square breathe, or to do some of these more like yogic practices. You can really prevent like anxiety, panic, and trauma and PTSD. Another piece is like I do this thing called EMDR, which is like a more like psychology trauma release thing, which if you're listening to this and you've had a dark night of the soul or trauma, like highly recommend EMDR. And it actually uses that same kind of thing, like bilateral stimulation is what they call it, but like hitting both sides of the brain in balance to like rework trauma. So that also just if you're watching and you were relating to this, that's like definitely like a great resource. I've done it myself and I've helped lots and lots of people heal like abuse, trauma, life-threatening stuff, like the worst of the worst kind of moments. And out of those things, like you can become like the person that you're meant to be. Like it doesn't have to be, you don't have to stay stuck in the dark night of the soul, right? Like you gotta move through
it. You don't. But sometimes you have to sit there.
Yeah.
Like you have to just accept where you are and just like kind of let it flow through you. Like I feel like we try so hard to run away from those negative states of mind sometimes. Yeah. Whereas if we were just to like sit with it for a little while and just feel it and bask in it a little bit, it would just leave really quickly, versus like doing everything to try to escape,
Yeah, you got to feel to heal, and I know for myself, I get like avoided from doing that from time to time, and we all do. It's very human, but the shortcut hack to life and recovery and manifestation is to like feel good, feel your feelings, focus on what you want, all of these things so much.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the oils and like, you said you were able to heal your hand when, like modern medicine couldn't do that for you. Like, tell me about that whole healing journey.
So I had an open wound on my pointer finger, and it literally, I don't know what was causing it, but I guess it was just the spot that it was in. It literally took, like I said, a year. And I was like taking antibiotics. I was putting antibiotic ointment on it, and it just wasn't getting better. So I just went and I just did a lot of research, and I found that Manuka honey has antimicrobial and antibacterial properties. And so I found this brand and I mixed it with some herbs and I kind of made like a paste out of it. And I put it on my finger and I just let it sit, overnight for like 2 days. And I am not kidding. I literally woke up the second morning and I looked and the skin was closing over. It was like new pink skin. I was amazed. Like I really like did not know that that was even possible. So it was a huge experience for me to see that happen.
Like a true medicine woman, do you feel like your ancestors or like your past healing lives, like did that stuff kind of come through as you had that awakening?
Absolutely. I mean, just the way it comes to me so intuitively, there's just certain things I know that there's no way I would know them unless there was something in my past life or down my ancestral line that there were healers. That I honestly think I was a healer in some of my past lives. I do, really.
I know, and it's hard, like, if when you start to do it, like, as a business or, like, put yourself out there and get visible because it's all new and, like, it's
Mhm.
such a vulnerability thing. But, like, I think a lot of us healers, there's this felt sense, but, like, we don't give it enough credit that, like, legit, we've been doing this for, like, lifetimes and eons, and, like, we're powerful people, and we're also our own ancestors, so it's in our blood,
It
right?
is.
In
It
our
really is. I've been really wanting to go back in my family history and like my lineage and see like if there really was someone, down the line who was a healer. I haven't yet, but I definitely plan on doing that because I think it would just be really cool just to know. But I took this course over the summer and it's about making infused oils, and it really has changed the game for me, because I was trying to make oils before and they just weren't as potent. And just learning this technique from my teacher has really like opened up so many opportunities and possibilities for me, and I love it. It's a home craft. It's something that I put my heart and soul into it. And I just get into this peaceful state of mind when I'm in my kitchen, I'm grinding my herbs. I just love the whole process. It gets me on fire. So
Yeah, I'm definitely like a kitchen witch, and that's why I love like essential oils and like crystals,
yes.
all of that stuff so much. You're Cancer, right? Is that
I'm
right?
Pisces.
Oh, Pisces. Okay, well, same.
Yes.
Like a water
Yes.
sign. We're like we gotta have our little, like healing outlets. Like for me, it's
Yes.
definitely like an obsession.
Me too, seriously, especially stones.
I feel that. There's a crystal I haven't met that I don't like. So yeah, I've like basically got a metaphysical shop at my house. So
I can imagine. I saw your organite pyramid and I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
yeah, that was, like motherhood does strange things for you. Like, 2012 was like such an awakening. You're still probably pretty young. So
Mhm.
like that was probably you were young then. But like for me, I was just like getting pregnant. And then like when I had my daughter, it was like, oh my God, this world, like what the hell? Like there were all these cell phone towers like popping
Oh,
up
I know.
everywhere. And I started getting like really like just like scared, like is this the end of the
Mm.
world or like what's happening? Like I felt like my protective mama adrenaline was like through
Yeah,
the roof. And so
absolutely.
my husband and I started well, mostly me. He made sure I didn't like blow up the house, but we started making organite. I like got some in Asheville and then I came back and I was like, I got this magical thing. And he was like, how much did you pay for that? And I was like, you don't want to know. And he was like, well, that's just like some stones and resin. We could totally make that. And I was like, okay, let's make it. So that's kind of my little like gypsy business, kind of like you said of that. And,
Yes,
I may bring it back,
good.
make some more. I've like kind of been feeling the call to do that. But yeah, I love stones. I love making things. He's getting into like some blacksmithing and joining the maker community locally here in Knoxville. So I'm
Ooh,
excited to see like what he's going to come up with next.
that's awesome.
But I love, we live locally together in
Yeah.
Knoxville, and there's such a cool like healer maker community emerging here.
There is.
And
There really
so
is.
it's like really catching a vibe. Like, watch out, Asheville. Like, we're coming
I know.
here with Knoxville. So
It had to happen. Asheville's so saturated now at this point. It had to spread this way. I'm ready because I was like, I just need to live in Asheville.
Yeah.
You know?
Shout out to Asheville. But yeah, I feel like Knoxville's come a long way. And
Yes.
to me, it's like just like the beauty of the Smoky Mountains and all the crystals that are probably buried in there and the
I know.
rivers. And then like obviously like the Cherokee, the Uchi, the Native American ancestry here. You know, it's
Yes.
the vortexes. It's a powerful place for sure.
It really is. And for me, I love foraging. I love going into the mountains and foraging. And there's so many medicinal plants growing in the mountains around here.
It's got like the same kind of biodiversity I heard as like the Amazon. Like it is one of the most biodiverse like existing forests. So, I mean, like different types, but that's what I heard along the way. So, there's so much like animals and wildlife and herbs, you know, in there. And so.
Yes, it's magical, ancient magical healing.
I want to circle back a little bit to, you kind of said that you were in a negative headspace that like perhaps like contributed to this like physical thing that happened to you. And I see that a lot. And like everybody has mindset struggles. I know I do. Like it's just very human.
Yes.
And there's so much power in our mind. And we're also so like programmed and brainwashed
Yeah.
negative mindset stuff. So I'm just kind of curious, like, can you share a little bit about your journey of like that transformation that happened?
Yeah. So it really started, my relationship that I was in before I met my husband, it was a really toxic relationship. My ex was an alcoholic and we had moved out to New Mexico together. I followed him out there for his job and I ended up, realizing when I was there that I did not want to be in this relationship anymore. It was like a 6-year relationship and I literally packed my shit and I left and came back to Knoxville.
Good for you.
And I ended up getting with my husband like right after I broke up with my ex because he was just so amazing and I couldn't pass up this amazing man. So, but while we were together, my ex would not leave me alone. He made me feel so guilty. And I literally got into this horrible mindset thinking that I was a terrible person for leaving him and for trying to make myself happy. And I should have just stayed with him where I was comfortable and safe. And I got into this horrible guilt cycle and I really let him get into my head. And it really almost sabotaged my marriage now. And I was in such a guilt, shame headspace. And I just wasn't, I was not in a good place at all. And it
sounds to me like a narcissist. You know, I can't like officially diagnose anyone, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard this like exact same story, like the manipulation, the gaslighting, you know, it's, as a therapist, like helping women heal on this journey, I feel like that almost leaves like more enduring scars sometimes than more extreme abuse because it's like so sneaky, you know, it's so manipulative. It's really hard to see what's going on. So I really like to highlight that for people because, and I find that healers do end up in narcissistic relationships as a initiation. Why do they have to do this to us?
Perfect partner for a narcissist, really.
It's like, let me rescue you, let me heal you, and they're like just like a black hole of like needing all that stuff.
Basically, yeah. And he was so subtle, like, and so innocent seeming, like he was just like this sweet guy, you know what I mean? But behind the scenes, you know, beneath the surface, there was just, and he was a hurt person, obviously. Hurt people, you know. But it was like, it was like pulling tentacles, like energetic tentacles out of me to get him out of my life. Like it was the hardest thing I've ever done.
I'm so glad that you put it that way because that's like a really powerful metaphor. And a lot of times when people come to see me to do that trauma work, I'm like, hey, we got to get you to a healer and like some soul retrieval and like some cord cutting. Like, you don't
Yes.
get better until some of that stuff's done. And
Yeah.
I know for me, because I'm such an empath and I'm clairsentient, when I'm sitting with someone who's like very like being psychically attacked, like I will like feel that in my own body and it's almost hard to sit with that
Mhm.
person. It's like such a powerful influence. And so sounds
Yes.
like you and you're watching, like go get
Yeah.
a healing session because
Yes.
unplug you and then your whole life will change.
It really will. And speaking of that, I will, that you just brought something up, a memory. When I was living with him in Albuquerque, I remember I woke up one night and it was like that dream state where you're half asleep, half awake. And I remember looking up and I swear to you, it looked like a dark entity type of attachment thing was trying to like attack me. And I remember that was like a month before I left. So there was some kind of dark attachment that he had for sure.
Yeah, and I think, it's so good for you to leave because I've worked so many times like crisis lines and, people with domestic violence. And I think there's this judgment of like, why don't you leave? Well, there's a whole like wearing down of like your resources, your support
Yes.
systems, your mentality so that you're not able to leave. So, and
Yes.
if you have children, God help you. I've been through divorces from a
We had
narcissist.
cats together.
I mean, I've like,
I know.
it's traumatic just to witness it. So to go through it is like, it's so hard, So,
It is.
and like, I'm generalizing with him. I don't know exactly like what his situation is, but like the thing about
Right.
it is it's like such a pattern of just,
Mhm.
like, men using their power over women, particularly like healing women. And I feel like every healer woman I know has a story like that for real.
Yes. And he made me feel like I was crazy. I was having an awakening. I was 22 in 2012 and, I was in college still. So, I remember the shift. It wasn't as potent for me as maybe like a few years later, but he made me feel like I was crazy, like all the healing arts that I was, studying and all of that, like the yoga and the meditation, like he made me feel like it was just weird and out there and like I was just crazy basically. So
Yeah, and I think that's something I noticed like with a lot of healer women. I think it's hard for them sometimes to find a partner who's supportive because they've got a big mission. They're doing
mhm.
different things. And like if you're in a heterosexual partnership, like you really need that man to be in his divine masculine and his divine feminine
Yeah.
be able to like let you be as powerful as you are. I don't mean let,
Yes.
it's not the right word, but it kind of is
I
like,
know what you
but
mean.
to
Yes.
like support you and like honor you and worship you in your
Hold
power,
space, hold space for you.
not be scared of it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So that whole experience was definitely that relationship, that experience, driving across the country by myself and all of that, definitely it opened up some doors for me. So, but it was like I said, it was one of the hardest things I've ever been through besides childbirth.
Yeah. Well, it's saying a lot. And like I think the thing with emotional abuse is like it continues after usually even
Yeah.
after you've left because that like voice takes up inside your head. And that's
Mhm.
like a lot of the work that I've done therapy wise and healing wise is just like helping people disconnect from that and then realize like, hey, that's your abuser. It's like your inner
Mhm.
abuser. Like,
Yeah. No, really.
the
Exactly.
continuing. And so like, the best way, if you have like I always recommend people Louise Hay stuff because, like ultimately it's all about like loving and improving of yourself. And like, from the mental health piece, like as long as you're like beating yourself up, like you're not gonna, of course you're gonna feel anxious and depressed and like
Yeah.
kind of what everybody's going through. That's why we're seeing like record numbers of like almost everybody has mental health problems right now. It's because
Yeah.
toxic culture and toxic thoughts and toxic like inputs.
Yes, the collective. But I really do think people like us we're the change. We are the change makers. We are.
Yeah, and I personally believe like with it, 2012, I feel like was one bookend, and like 2021 is the next. And I think 2020 has gotten people's attention. Like, whoa, what the fuck? Like something done like anything
Yes.
experienced before. So, not that it's going to be like automatically perfect,
Right.
New Year's 2021, but like I do really truly believe that like after thousands and thousands of years, we are going into like the matriarchy and into like feminine rule, which,
Yes.
the only people that need to be scared of that is like the people that are doing harm with the patriarchy. Like everybody else, you're actually just going to like benefit from it. You're going to be listened to. It's like you're going to have all that mama energy. Like, I
Yes.
love you. We're going to cuddle you up. We're going to feed you a good meal. And we're going to make sure you're safe and fulfilled.
Yes. Nurtured. I completely agree.
Yeah, so I still like ask people like, what's your vision for the future? If you could wave a magic wand and just like rewrite society, like what are you feeling into? What are you manifesting for the world?
I am manifesting a world. This is my vision. Okay. I envision us tearing up all the concrete and literally just creating greenscapes everywhere and bringing the life, the plants back to the planet. And I envision a culture and a society that allows for healing and that doesn't highlight martyrdom. Like right now in our current situation, I feel like it's like admirable to be a martyr, to like basically sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your happiness for the greater good. But it's not for the greater good if you're sacrificing yourself. So I feel like we need to go back, like you said, to more of a matriarchal way of just supporting and nurturing and allowing people to feel and to just be who they want to be.
Yeah, and I think it's like we try to control outside of us without like recognizing that like we are powerful creators and like the inner work is what creates the outer work. So we can never fix the outer without going inward. And so
Exactly. Yeah.
we know this. I know I fall for that trap all the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like I want this out here to do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, but like that's doing that because something inside of me is this.
Yes. It's exactly. Yes. So I feel like if we could all be given the space to do that inner work and to do that inner healing, I mean, can you imagine how amazing this could all be, really? It would just,
And when I listen to like certain spiritual teachings, like Cryon, for example, or there's other ones out there, and they really talk about like that, like world peace could be like within our children's generation. Like that gives me such chills. And to
I just got chills, literally.
I know, and like I'm sure your baby has some superpowers. I know mine does.
Yes.
I think for me, I'm like about to turn 40, so I'm like one of the indigos, and like
Yes.
having worked with so many young people who are like in their 20s, having seen like my own kid who's almost 8, like having seen like the new babies coming in, like I
Yes.
just really feel like once I can see it in my life because since I'm about to turn 40, like I'm getting into like really like the power zone and I've been in my career
Yes.
for 20 years and like I've been doing the adult thing and I'm like, whoa, like me and my generation, we're starting to take over. And
Yeah.
when your generation takes over and then when our kids' generation takes over, like, holy shit. Like,
I know. My sister, she is 17, about to be 18. And she is all the time talking about like permaculture and just, like she meditates and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, if I had been doing that when I was your age, can you imagine how much further? But, the new generations, like the new babies coming in, the star seeds, they are like amazing and they do have gifts automatically. Like my baby, he literally will only fall asleep to like Sanskrit mantras. I'm like, okay, dude, you are totally like an ancient soul.
it's really funny. When I first had Luna, I had a past life reading and they did like a couple different versions of like lives that our family had all had together. And the one that stood out to me was, that we were all Buddhist monks and like Luna was like the head honcho monk. And so it's so funny to me because it was like she was like a newborn at the time. And so like, how like, well, you'll see when your kid gets older, then you like start to like yell and fuss at them. Hopefully not too much, but it's just like part of parenthood. It's like a little bit inevitable.
Yes.
And I'm like going here like, oh my God, am I like yelling at my guru? Like, am I like getting that karma because I'm like putting my guru in time out? Like, and I think they're just
That's hilarious.
There's like a certain reverence that we don't like teach in parenting. Like I see this a lot in my younger therapy clients. It's like they know
Mhm.
more than their parents do. And I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, like, I'm sorry, it sucks. Like, you know more than your parents. But, like, the good news is like you're a wise person and you're gonna figure it out, you know. But like I think when you're a parent and you're open to like my kid is this like little master and I'm gonna like
Yes.
learn from them. And they're gonna learn from me for better or for worse.
Yes, exactly.
It's like such a powerful cycle. And so it does like give me so much like hope for the future. That, you
Me
know,
too.
the younger generations is where it is at.
It really is. I mean, they're all about inclusion and acceptance. I mean, really, I don't know. Just speaking from my sister's perspective, I mean, she has never even like acted like she sees skin color, a difference in skin color, and they're just all so just open. It just seems like I don't know. It just seems like they are.
Yeah, I think there's just like an egalitarian and then they just like I think have they like know violence is wrong, you know?
Yes, they do. Yeah,
Like it would like makes them sick, you know? And so
yeah,
I feel like, you know, versus like, you know, in the media and stuff, you know, action movies and like true crime and stuff like that has been hyped so much that we've just kind of like been infiltrated with it. But like I feel like the younger generations are like, why would that
They don't understand. They literally are like, "Why are you racist? Why are you violent?" Like they literally just it doesn't even like compute for them almost, you know?
yeah, there's such a purity that's really beautiful. And like obviously we need to like recognize that for most people, you know, like they are living the lives of like you know, if you're marginalized, you have like a lot more, you know, violence or oppression or whatever. But I feel like it's these pure souls that are gonna like have the solutions to like make a paradigm where everyone is equal and taken care of and like really dismantle these like systems of oppression and violence and like all the
Yes.
toxic shit that's been out there. Yeah.
Yes. I'm so ready. Like I'm ready for this paradigm shift. I think a lot of us have been ready our whole lives, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a great sentiment. And I feel like for me, like, you know, with rebranding to the Divine Feminine Revolution, like I've gone to Gypsy Hands for a million years and she would always talk to me about it. I'm going to have her on the podcast later on. And like I thought of it as this like movement outside of myself. And then the day I was like, oh my God, I just rebranded like this thing we've been talking about. Like, I guess I'm the leader.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
but like, you know, this is like a movement that's happening all over the planet and there's a million leaders. And that's what's so
Yes.
exciting. Everybody has their own version. And what I love to do is just like collect people and collect like amazing women and even a few men who are in their divine feminine
Yes.
and you know just like get everybody together to like meet each other so we don't feel like we're the only ones or crazy or like you know we you know you need mentorship and that's what Gypsy
Yes.
me like she really helped me like understand my gifts so that they didn't like rear their ugly head in like toxic
Yeah.
ways, you know.
That is so important because sometimes it can just feel like you're so alone on this journey. You look around you and you feel like you're just like a big fish in a little pond sometimes. I don't mean to sound egoic, but you know what I mean. Like it just feels like sometimes it just feels like you're just different than everybody, you know.
Very like intense to be like psychic or a healer or a starseed or like whatever you're interdimensional, like whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
It's intense and you need
It
like
is.
someone to tell you like what's what, you know, and kind of be like, okay, this is what's happening. It's okay, you know, and I have a lot of
Yes.
people come to me and I had a reading early on that was like, listen, because you're so like, well, I've had, you know, like that you're the bridge between like healing and mental health. And that's like a particular part of my mission, but also just to like tell people like, listen, you're not crazy. You have a gift and you have some trauma. And it's just about like how do we turn the trauma into the gift, you know? And like that's
Yes.
the wounded healer path. And I think it's like so powerful. And I appreciate you sharing your story. And I know like just witnessing it via social media was like a huge transformation for me. And to
Yeah.
see you and your baby and to see like the life that you've created and all the growth that's come out of it has been like super beautiful to just like watch and witness. And it's super inspiring.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that locally we have someone like you doing this work.
Oh,
Like,
thanks. Yeah.
it's
We're gonna have to
amazing.
meet in real life and see
Yes, please.
and so like tell us where do we find you on the web? Like, you know, I have some links below, but go ahead and promote yourself.
Well, I am getting my Etsy shop up and running right now, but I am also, I will do like custom orders for people until I get it up and running. I'm so bad at sitting at the computer and doing computer work and like typing stuff out. Like it's just the bane of my existence. So I'm working on that. But I have an Etsy page and I have an Instagram, and my business is called Numinous Rose Medicinals. And I am going to be selling infused oils, body butters, and salves, and maybe some tinctures. And I also plan on doing like custom intuitive blends. So I would have someone call me or, send me a little bit about them, what they're going through. And then I would sit and I would like come up with an intuitive blend for them. So that's another thing that I plan on doing once I get all the business aspect of things worked out. So
Yeah, well, I definitely will get an oil from you. And everybody go look Shelby up. I'd love to have you in the next round of Fearless Feminine. We've got a bunch of like local healers that I'm putting together. So I feel like I'll talk with you later about that. But yes, the custom healing blends, like, I mean, you healed your hand when the doctors could not. And that's a story I hear women say all the time. Like they have to be their own advocates. They have to be their own healers. And that's like part of the initiation is to like go against the mainstream and find your own answers.
Yeah. It's like going against Big Daddy almost,
Yeah, Big Daddy. All right. On that note, we're going to sign off for today. See you later.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening to the Divine Feminine Revolution podcast. Make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Want to keep the conversation flowing? Find us on Facebook at the Divine Feminine Revolution Facebook group, where revolutionary women gather to listen to their hearts, monetize their gifts, and change the world.